Welcome back to Look at Business. My name is Simba Elijah Charles Kiaga. Thank you very much for being a part and parcel of our broadcast this evening. Let's talk tax, but in this perspective. This is an introduction. Now, President William Ruto's government is targeting 2.8 trillion from Kenyan businesses. That is the taxes. Now, under this, you will see that the target that we've been given around that particular area is around 2.56 trillion in the financial year 2023-2024. Now, this is target that is set to be achieved or raised to 4 trillion then in the medium term. We continue that, and then we run away from the perspective of if indeed this is making President William Ruto's government move away from the hustler narrative of protecting smaller businesses, because again, as a man was said, lazima to collect tax, ama tukusanye ushuru tujitegemee. Good. So today, since they will collect that tax, and KRA has already been given that particular value, and I don't think it's going to change. In any case, it'll go up higher. How then do you know, as a small business, the tax that should concern you, how to pay it, and then essentially we ask the question, how to comply? Tonight, we talk about taxes that should concern you as a small business. I'm privileged to have a man that I've been wanting to talk to right here on Look at Business for quite a long time. He will tell you the story. I was supposed to have him weeks back. And now the only punishment that we're going to do is to allow him then officially introduce himself and his company. How are you doing, sir?
Fine, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you for giving me this opportunity. It's my first time to be in the show.
Oh, yeah?
I appreciate it.
Anytime.
Sure.
So could you officially then introduce yourself to our audience?
Yes, my name is John Chwea from Global Base Company Limited. Global Base is a consultant company in terms of finance, accounting, and tax advisory.
Yes.
It has a group of build-up professionals in terms of accounting, taxation, business, and finance. In short, actually, it doesn't have employees. It's a pool of consultants, people at least in different professions.
Yes.
They have pulled together, they have formed the company. The only is just to look for business and call the expertise at different levels.
Yes.
Come and assist in this consultancy. Mm-hmm. It's a pool of consultancy so that they are using the secret so that they can grow business, so they can advise business people. Because the major thing, everybody wants to do business in Kenya, be it small or large, but they need to be given directions in terms of taxation, financial advisory, bookkeeping, and accounting. And also in HR practitioners, who to employ and how to employ.
Pretty much.
So that's why they're brought together to form what we call global-based consultancy. That's why it's called global. In a sense, it globalizes everything together. It started in 2013 with a few consultants. Now we are many consultants in that pool, whom we have listed as one of our advisories. So that whatever we get an issue, we look whether it's within our line. Is it financial? Is it business advisory? Is it human resource? Is it tax advisory? And majorly, it has measured in taxation issues. And why has it measured in taxation issue? Mm-hmm. Most of the consultants who are there, they're ex-KRA, including myself, having worked in KRA for 30 years.
That's a long period, isn't it?
Yes, with that rich experience, mm-hmm. we found the major issue which is affecting most of the business people is how to handle tax matters. Everybody, they have that euphoria of fearing KRA because they feel KRA is just pulling out their money. But in the real sense, KRA is so friendly. I'm not advocating for KRA or for anybody. But when I see it the way it works, I see it in a very friendly way. The only problem is that do we understand?
That's it. Is an understanding.
And actually, that's where the problem is.
Yes.
If everybody understands, and if you understand your business, how to do it, you'll have no fear anymore. Likewise, if you can understand about taxation, neither will you have fear no more. You know, sometimes fear is caused by ignorance. And most people make a mistake because of fear. It's like when you see a traffic police officer stands you always ask, what mistake do I have? Likewise to KRA.
Yeah.
When an officer comes in or you get a letter, you always ask, what have I done with KRA? How can I finish with them very fast so they can go away?
Get done away with them. Yes.
But what I'll tell you is sit down, listen to them, see your transactions, learn what is supposed to be done. You'll be good to go.
Pretty much. Which is exactly what we were talking about here today. Just before we then delve deeper into the specific taxes that we picked up that we think concern smaller businesses, which normally get them on the wrong side of the law with KRA. Could you comment about the overall tax environment in the country?
Okay. Kenya Revenue Authority has been given an authority to collect revenue and account for it.
Yes.
Actually, it's the major collecting agency of the government. Remember one thing, the government has no another investment rather than its own people and the business which is done there, and the only way the government can be able to meet this obligation is through taxation. The government has got another business. So it has to, the legislation, even the constitution, has allowed the levying of taxes. If you talk about the Constitution 2010, it has allowed that the minister, through parliament, can levy taxes through the various acts. And the major acts which we have common of, which we know, we have the income tax. Under the income tax, we have corporation tax, we have pay as you earn,
yes.
We have TOT, we have also other taxes which are withholding. Those are the major ones in income tax. And only we also have another one, what we call VAT, which also is a consumption tax and is a indirect taxes. We have excise duties also, which is also an indirect taxes, which people call sin tax.
Yes.
Also, we have Customs and East African Customs Management Act, which also deals with the importation and exportation of goods and services. Those are the major tax which the Kenya Revenue Authority deals with. When we look at the tax environment in Kenya, from the statistics which is available, which I need not to verify 100%, the compliance level is not quite high. Although it has been improving, if you see the statistics from 1990 coming upwards up to the formation of KRA, since KRA took over, there is upward trend of collection of taxes. We never used to collect a trillion, but now KRA is collecting trillion
yes.
on behalf of the government of Kenya. Mm-hmm. And from the speech of the president, is looking that there's a lot of opportunities of people who are supposed to pay taxes and they're not paying up to date. And his encouragement is, let us, all of us, pay the taxes, not to depend on the foreign borrowing. Because it is too expensive. But if we apply our local taxes, it will be quite good. He's setting this environment through political line. That's number one. Number two is telling Kenyans, be patriotic to your country by paying taxes. Be it a small person, be it a big person. The more is given to you, the more is demanded. The little is given to you, the little is demanded. Because you cannot equate a big corporate client with a small corporate client. Likewise to your studio.
Yes.
I cannot equate you to the rest of other studios whom I know who are giants. The way you do your remuneration, the way you reward people, the way of your coverage is asking every Kenyan to pay his fair share.
Yes.
Which is quite equitable. And all of us, if we were equitable to that line, we shall make our country grow.
Yes.
We need the service of roads. We need security. We need water. We need health services. We need education. All these taxes goes there. Because when we talk about the police being remunerated very well, when we talk about our KDF, we don't have another place of them making money or revenue generating or income generating businesses. The only thing which they depend on is what you and me pays.
Pretty much.
Yes.
All right. Let's jump into, just before we go into the specific taxes, and
Yes.
we know we've outlined them, let's jump into the journey that you work with a smaller business. Somebody sitting somewhere saying, well, let me set up a business. And before they know it, they're making sales, they're making acquisitions, and before you know it, KRA is knocking on the door, asking for the remittances of specific taxes. What journey do you work with a smaller business as your company? Could you walk to me? I come to you and knock on your door,
Yes.
say, make me tax compliant.
Compliance.
I want to know, what is that journey like?
Give me a healthy check in
Yes.
short. That's
Yes.
what you are asking about.
That's it.
Somebody who has started a small business, be it a retailer, be it farming, be it distribution, be it transport, is to understand what type of business are you doing. That's number one.
Can I understand that? You got to know where you are.
Where you are. What type of
Yes.
business am I doing?
Yes.
And even before you understand what type of business you have done your planning, I want to invest this amount of money in this business. Maybe you have got 1 million, 2 million, 3 million, 4 million. You have your business projection. This is what I'm expecting. These are my clients. And before you even identify your client, know what they like mostly. Is there a client who will ask me, look, I need a VAT. When I'm going to deal with you, I need a VAT. You look at that. Transaction analysis. Transaction analysis for a young business person is quite key. I'm going to study this business, and this business I'm going to do, my customer is so and so and so. And how is the profile of this customer mine? Mm-hmm. You can even counter check and even look at the internet, even in through KRA profiles, and ask, is this customer mine registered with KRA? And even you can have a one-to-one interaction and ask him, what obligation do you have in KRA? And I want to like to do your business. You have given me an order. I'm going to supply you. What is your requirements? When you know that, then as a small businessman, I look at my profile and know what is my qualification. What does KRA wants me to do as a small business person? You know, KRA has defined what we call a small business person. And under that definition, they say somebody whose turnover, or his gross sales, is between 1 million to 50 million. That's a small enterprise business. And when you are acting in between here, there are an obligation which is needed for you. One of the obligation they assume you should know, or you should inquire and know, where with this information is available through the internet, YouTube, and everywhere. I'm a KRA website, you can call there and be explained,
yes,
is to register for a turnover tax. And beside that, you should know how the operation of turnover tax works. And beside turnover tax, it will also look at the revenue acts. That's under income tax. And ask which other revenue acts wants me to register as a small business person. One is the VAT Act. The VAT Act has also defined the registration threshold. It has told if you make business vertible, taxable businesses. I'll introduce the word taxable business. Mm-hmm. Because not everything is taxable under VAT. What am I required? What are the thresholds? It tells you under section 35 and 34 that you have to register with the VAT if your turnover, gross turnover of taxable business is over 5 million. Then if you look at those two, they give you a parameter what you're supposed to do as a young business person.
Yes.
Because most of the small businesses, they lie between 1 million to 50 million. And then you will ask yourself, what about payee? Am I supposed to pay payee as a young business person? You also look at it, what type of employees do I have? Am I paying them salaries? Or am I just paying them a one-off? Then you look at it, if I pay them salaries, what is the maximum and the minimum salary am I paying them? If you find you have employees whose minimum salary is 24 and above, you have to take us a PY obligation. Because that one, those are the major things for small business people, they have to look at it. One, turnover tax. Two, VAT. Three,
yes,
pay as you earn.
Pay as you earn.
Then again, you can also look at it further. If there are other businesses, small business people who receive services which are having a withholding element, and you ask, am I having any services? Somebody who's offering me a withholding element? Services which are professional, management, consultants, training. And if you do that, you have to account it at different types of rates. So as a business, when you are beginning, that's something's core for you to look at, so that you don't get small time and you hear the KRA is knocking on your door. And if you analyze that one and you know that is the position, You go and you do the registration. The registration is very simple. It's online. Being an individual, what you do, you fill your PIN number, you go to iTax, you fill your PIN number, you state the nature of your business you're doing, the expected turnover, then you pick it. And it will produce for your certificate,
yes,
an obligation for that. You'll have a PIN number. Under that PIN number, it has with either VAT obligation, GST obligation, PY obligation. Those are the major things which is reflected. And also, if you are dealing with accessible goods, maybe you are bottling water, you also take that obligation of excise. But that one has a different system of registration.
Indeed.
Because the application must be done, KRA must come and inspect, KEP certificate you must have it, approval certificate you must have it for that water is fit for human beings.
Pretty much.
Then KRA will look at it and sell for use stamps and register you and sell for use the stamps, and they will require you to keep proper record. And a key thing for small enterprises is record keeping. Why? Record keeping will tell you which direction you are moving to. You know, most of the small enterprises fails in record keeping. In most of the places when we consult for somebody, first way to have to look at it is the transaction. How are they being recorded? Is he having a clear transaction of record? Are they proper? Are they up to standard? Because once you don't do this transaction properly, you'll either lose your profit and even your capital through the people you have placed there, and you may not know which obligation you're going to take.
Yes.
Because those are the major things which will explain to you how to move.
Pretty much. So any smaller businesses listening to you,
Yes.
and saying, I want to set up a business.
Yes.
You know how majority of small businesses move. You don't figure the rest of the department, because a business has got to have the law side figured out. You got to have the tax side figured out. You got to have the HR side figured out. There's a lot of areas that a smaller business got to figure. And if you're indeed trying to cut costs and move your business a bit faster, this is where the next question comes in.
Yes.
Do I, as a small business, say, I don't need to talk to Global Biz? Let me have my tax department in-house. Or do I say, somebody will be paying monthly, it's a department that will be paying monthly, I'll be enumerating monthly,
Yes.
and they might be getting 24K and above. That means I'll be applying also for PAYE, tax. I don't need to do that. Which way to go for small business?
It's a choice.
Is it
It's a choice. And at the same time is to look where you want your business to move to.
Okay.
And it's also to look at what I want to gain from this.
Okay.
You know, you can choose to buy a Mercedes, although you are new. And somebody else can choose to buy a Land Cruiser, depending on the geographical operations of your business. There's one thing I always tell people, none is wrong, but there are advantage and disadvantage for each. One, if you have decided to employ somebody, you must get an expert. Don't gamble. And that expert, you have to humiliate him properly.
They gotta get paid well.
Well, if you,
If you're
can't
gonna
pay
get an
him,
expert.
if you don't pay him well, he'll walk up.
They
and
will
go
walk out.
and
Yeah.
go.
Yes.
Consider that cost. It's not a cheaper cost.
It's gonna be a monthly cost
It's
as well.
a monthly cost as well. It's quite expensive to maintain a It has also associated benefits. And also when he tells you he's sick, he's sick. So even if it's your due date return, and you're not trained to anybody else, he was to any expert.
Because you're a smaller business as well.
Yes.
Yes.
You have to look somebody else to do the job he was doing. And you can't sack him because he was sick. He's protected by the law.
By the law, yeah.
Yes. So that's one of the areas. And also information. When I'm an employee, I'm circled within here. I'm not able to go out and get more information. So I'm not 100% abreast of what is happening outside here. Experience sharing and other things, I'm localized within. The same time, you cannot really employ somebody to only do taxation issues and you are a small enterprise. Because you also need this person to see his input
double
being
up
done.
somewhere, isn't it?
So
Yeah.
sometimes you may give him some other work to do, and you find him he has forgotten what he's supposed to do as a major taxation issue. And the other time, even if you make a mistake, what are you going to do for him? Have you seen how it moves like?
Yes.
It may look cheap. It may look easy, but cheap is not always the best. If you consider the cost you'll have towards non-compliant of taxation, it's good to have somebody, either an expert or a consultant.
Yes.
In terms of consultant, you'll be able to look at the picture from outside point of view. Yes, the employee will keep your secrets and other things, but the consultant will come and re-examine you and tell you, this is the problem. It may be bitter for you, and you may look, why should I lose this money? You know, your employee will tell you, boss, we are supposed to pay this month, pay us you hand about 150,000. You look at your finances, you say, I don't have money. See what you can do.
Yeah.
It's easy to compromise.
Yes.
But a consultant will come and tell you the truth in black and white. This is my finding, and this is what you are expected to do. And it is you now to say, I'm going to pay it or not. The same time is much exposed. He has got other colleagues in the similar, any new upcoming issue, because tax is very dynamic in the sense it's not something you will keep it here. What you knew of yesterday is not the same of today. Unless you keep on sharing this information with the others who have experienced the same. Because for the consultants who are in taxation, they always share and ask, how is this being done? Who has handled this thing? And how do you handle it? Living with the big fish like the Price Waters and the rest. But the small and medium consultants, they are holding hands on each other. They want to get the new information and how they do it. So they will give you an easy way of examining your things, and you'll find it quite easy. And if they make a mistake, you have a real way of reminding them and asking them, this is you to account for. You never advised me on this. You never showed me this. And you have a leeway for that.
Yes.
Yes. The worry is, how cheap are they?
Which essentially would not be.
But they're not depending on the terms and conditions.
Yes.
They're not very expensive.
They're not very expensive. Pretty much. I want to ask you a very specific question here.
Yes.
On withholding tax as well.
Yes.
And it comes like this. So I want you to, how does the law interpret management or professional fee payment under withholding tax? And I'm asking you this question in this sense. Majority of businesses have been on the wrong side of the law when they're questioned, why didn't you pay A, B, C, D as withholding tax?
Okay. Withholding tax, I'll say, it has been there. It's not a new tax.
Yes.
But the way and the system of operating it is the way where people used to misunderstand it. For example, you know, so other people used to see withholding tax for professionals. How do I define who's a professional?
Who's a professional? You know?
How do I define these are management services? How do I define these are consultant services?
Yeah.
How do I define these are training services? Those are the three major things you have to look at it. Somebody who is not your employee, whom you call at a time of need only, and who offers you a professional services, that is a professional. He's not your employee, he's not under your control. You have no control about him, where he works, what times he comes.
Yeah.
He doesn't
He
doesn't have an office in with you.
Yes.
You come and provide for me, this is what I need. That is a professional. A management, terms of it, I've come here, you have told me I've got a problem with my HR. I want you to give me an advice. An HR advice. I analyze your sector, I analyze your structure, and I realize this is what you have to do. I give you a management fee. You come to me and ask me, I want you to give me a way how I can be able to manage my flights. Write for me a paper and show me the way, the technicalities in between. I do for your management a very professional paper, and I tell you step by step what you're supposed to do. That's management. I will come for you and you have a tax issue. You have been with KRA. carers hit you with that demand letter, and you say, no, I don't feel this is correct. I need a consultant. Consultant comes in. He looks at your record. He questions the records.
Yes.
He also goes to carry. He questions how they arrived at that one. And they give you his verdict. Either, and he will tell you, you will object on this line or this line. All of you have agreed in our discussion with carry. They're going to review 1, 2, 3, 4. Then he helps you to respond. That's a consultant services. And the withholding need to be done. Then you can also go to training. Like now you want to improve. You are look up TV and you want to train your staff deeper way of getting analyzing, and you hire somebody who's an expert from outside here with a firm who has been doing in this field. He comes and tell you this is the way, the new way it's moving. And I want you to adapt 1, 2, 3, 4, even setting up of the studio, even the way you are calling with your people. And it trains your people new techniques to enhance your productivity in employment. That's a training, and the consultant needs to be done. Now comes a question, how? Out of the fee, it has got different rates. The major rates within Kenya, there are only 2 rates. That is 3% and 5%.
Yes.
3% apply to construction sector. If you come, you want to put up a studio, and our contractors come on side. In every payment you make to that constructor, 3% you have to withhold. You know, it's not your tax, by the way. That's something you have to bear in mind. Withholding tax is not your tax. You are paying in advance on behalf of that person who's doing the service, so that you make a payment. So it's not your money. It's not money you have to lose at it. It's not money you have to look at it, I've given out to carry. You are paid on behalf of that person.
The person who's giving the service.
He was giving the service. And so when he's going to do his return,
yes,
he will account it as a part of the tax which he has paid. You see the beauty of it? Mm-hmm. It has made it easy for this person to comply. Even his records have been known in KRA that for sure I did a service to so and so. So he can't hide himself from there. So his KRA already has a database on him. They say, look, you did to go TV this type of services, and they were told this amount of money. From that one, KRA will work backwards. So we expect your turnover to be in this way, but you're giving us this way. It's a source of information also for KRA. Now, accountability. When do you account for it? I've given you a service, I've issued your invoice, and you have not received payment. Does it mean I wait until you pay? No. Formally, that's what used to happen. And the KRA, I think it was discovered, it was one of the loophole. People will stay in their records without indicating whether they paid the person or not.
Yes.
Now it came and there was a ruling to that effect. The moment you recognize that expense in your records, withholding VAT is due.
Immediately.
Immediately. If you recognize it this month, we expect it next month.
By the 20th of
the next month, yes.
Yes.
You have made it. You make that payment. That's where most of the problem is right away now.
Yes.
Because of that recognition. Always people puts the tax point as the point of payment. Mm-hmm. Actually, it's not the point of payment.
It's the point of declaration.
It's the point of recognition in the books of accounts, in your accounts, that for sure, this is an expense to me.
Pretty much.
And I need to make a payment on it. And there's also something we didn't cover about TOT. I gave you the reasoning about who's supposed to register and who's supposed to be under TOT as a small business person. Yes. But what about, formally, it replaced the presumptive tax. But what was the rate formerly? It was 3%. Now it was made even more cheaper to 1%.
1%, yes.
Imagine 1% of your gross turnover. You don't claim any expenses or anything. You only pay 1%
of whatever it is.
Of whatever you have. If you make this month 5 million, we only need 1% of 5 million. Very cheap as that. And if next month you make also another 5 million, we also need 1%. 1%. Yeah. You don't claim the expenses or anything. That's why it's called a final tax. You're finished with the care if you're only dealing an obligation having that.